All right, and we are back with another episode of Airdrie Inside. I am your host, Chris Glass. We are here at Glitch Gaming. I'm going to do that again.
Yeah, okay.
That's
glitch.
I had a glitch. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Airdrie Inside. My name is Chris Glass. I am your host. I am here at Glitch Gaming, which is such a beautiful facility. If you see the artwork behind us, they've had over 30 artists develop this mural. Great venue, and we really appreciate their support in sponsoring the podcast with giving us their venue today. And I am with Shannon Weeb. Shannon, welcome to the podcast.
Hi there. Very nice to be here today, and nice to be in Glitch. We are local to Glitch, and we actually hang out here quite a bit.
Okay, excellent. So you've come here before.
Oh, yes. They have a flight of soups. It is the most exciting flight I've ever had.
So I've heard of flights of rum, flights of whiskey, flights of beer, flights of soup.
Flights of soup. It's the cutest presentation. Anyway, excellent menu.
And you're here to talk about the menu. No, just kidding.
Yeah. Bring the food.
Shannon's here to talk to us about 100 Women Who Care, an organization that's doing great work in our city. And one of the reasons why we started this pod, I keep saying it all the time, is that we want to tell stories about local Airdrie, things that are really helping our community and kind of hidden for people. Yep. But before we get into what the organization does, let's talk about yourself. So Shannon, when did you come to Airdrie?
So we have lived in Airdrie, and actually we live outside of Airdrie. We do live in Rocky View County, but I consider myself an Airdrieonian. We were here 17 years ago, so my kids were toddlers, similar to your kids' age now. And
it's scary to think of them as toddlers, right? Because they are two of the
largest
human beings I've ever seen in my life.
They are. We call them meat muffins. They are meat muffins.
So we met when your sons were on our football team during a year where there was no football.
They were, yes. And I think you know this. I don't know if you remember this. So Levi was in the hallway, and they're basketball kids.
Yes.
And he says you came up to him and was like, you should play football. And it feels good to be chosen or recognized. He loved that.
It wasn't just that I chose him. I was going into the school. And you have to, for people who don't know your son's size, how tall is he?
So Levi's 6'6", and his younger brother is 6'7".
Okay, so 6'6", 6'7". This kid walks past me, and I'm the head coach of the football team. There's no way I'm letting that kid pass me without a conversation. So you see me go into the hall, I turn around, I'm like, hey, and I chase him down like a madman. I'm like, have you ever thought of playing football? And he goes, well, I'm a basketball guy. I'm like, nah, now you're a football guy. Come to the field. And I had him, his brother, Makai.
Yep.
And we had another kid who was 6'2", who was known as the short one of the group. And unfortunately, they never got to play a game, but it was the biggest defensive line I've ever had in my life.
It's still great memories for them. And Makai's a friend now I call him a frequent flyer at our house. I fed that kid so many times in 2020. It's all good, Makai.
I don't know how you fed those
I know.
three.
I was like, who's coming? So great memories though, even though it was a short time. Just like we had a conversation before, we were talking about you don't know the ripple effect.
Right.
That probably seemed like a bummer year for you for football, but my kids will remember that time.
It was weird because we didn't get to compete, but we were the last football team in Alberta to wrap up our season.
Okay.
So a lot of teams decided that, well, we're not going to play games. So what's the point?
Yeah.
It became apparent that year in October that this wasn't going away, and we were not going to even get an exhibition game. So we ended up hosting an inter-squad game against offense versus defense.
Oh, that's right. I remember that. Yes.
And we kept practicing, and we waited till when our football season would have normally ended to kind of at least replicate that experience, because even though we couldn't compete, we could still teach and we could still share each other's
for sure
company at least.
Yeah.
So it was one of my favorite moments actually.
No, it was kind of the last high school memory for my kids. Like then they graduated and that was it. So yeah. It's pretty good.
So that's how we met.
Yep.
So what do you do here in Airdrie?
Okay,
because
so
you are the most fashionable person I know,
Thank you.
and you have a fantastic Instagram account, becoming closed-minded.
Become close-minded, yeah.
So I want everybody to go subscribe to that account because it's really fashionable. It's really cool. So tell me about yourself.
So I started off, I'm a French immersion teacher. So I taught at École Edwards when Lance was in kindergarten. And I taught for only 3 or 4 years here. And then we made some changes in the schooling. Lance ended up having a chronic illness later in school, and that was tough. So we sort of went to different schools to find what we needed. And I had to stop teaching to sort of manage that. I was actually an advocate at the legislature to get policy for kids at school. Anyway, that feels like I was a lot of different people in those years. And I sort of volunteered and substitute taught whatever school they were at.
So talk to me about that advocacy. So this is why I love doing this pod, because there's people that I think I know, and then they drop those kind of nuggets on me, and I'm like, okay, well, let's explore it.
So it's kind of hard now because he's a young adult. I don't want to share his story I don't know that he wants to tell all of Airdrie or his potential employers. So, but it just, what we were specifically looking for was a policy for kids at school who needed support that wasn't in place yet. I'm not trying to be mysterious, but I want to keep his story to him.
And that's not what I wanted to focus on. I wanted to focus on.
So I actually learned how to lobby the provincial government for policy. So it's funny when I talk about not living in Airdrie, both the Airdrie and the Rocky View MLAs ended up being who I would meet with because I lived in Rocky View but went to school. The kids went to school in Airdrie. And that was really cool. Just like you go in, you make an appointment with your MLA, you say, this is a concern for me. I want you to ask this in question period. It's very neat.
So you met with our local MLAs and you got questions in question period?
I met with our local MLAs, and then we do an event in November where we go to Edmonton and we are invited to a session. We get to...
That's Airdrie Days, correct?
No, it's with the group that I advocated for. Okay. And I didn't understand how this works. I'll just say it's Canada Diabetes Canada. So they actually hire people who are professional and are very good at lobbying for certain policies. Right. Like Diabetes Canada will hire them. And then they helped us. So we would actually have a thing of the House and all of the MLAs, and we knew who they were and their stories. And because diabetes was what we were talking about, we're like, well, we know his nephew has type 1, and we know the member from here volunteered at a diabetes camp when he was in university. Wow. And so we would actually, it was really amazing. So we would contact those people and say, we are going to be in the House in November. We would like a question in question period. This is what we're lobbying for.
Right.
It was very weird to see how it works.
And a lot of people think advocacy ends with just an email or a letter, and it's really inspiring to see that you don't let it go, and that you can get to that level of getting your issue and what you care about brought up in question period. You can.
We do live in a democracy. I mean, really, we have elected these officials. They are supposed to listen to their constituents, and those were my roots. I took a poli-sci degree, so that hasn't come in handy, but anyway.
I think in the next few years, having a poli-sci degree might actually become quite handy.
I don't know. We'll see
where the world's going. But okay, and then so fast forward to now, right? So you started with a bit of an advocacy tinge to you, and now you're in a position to really make a difference. So talk to me about the Women Who Care.
So the 100 Women, I just joined because I love Airdrie. We think it's been a great city for us. We're really, we wear the Airdrie jersey, whatever that looks like. And I had friends that were members, and I have some friends that we don't see each other as regularly as we'd like. But 100 Women is 4 times a year. So if you commit, you'll see some of those friends, like the 3 of us, every quarter.
Right.
We're hanging out, which was brilliant. And then the first time I went, I was hooked, because it's about Airdrie. It's about small acts of goodness and kindness in the city. And then the 100 Women kind of amplifies that with our funding. So I was hooked.
The thing I really like about this concept of getting involved is you could take something as little as $100
Yep.
and turn it into something that makes an incredible difference for a small to medium organization.
Yeah.
So tell me how the process works.
Okay, so I have a bit of a joke, and I did run this by the group
Okay.
because I said, in my house, so we are the 100 women who care, and there's 100 men who give a damn, and there's 100 kids. But the joke in my house, I hope I can say this, is we're actually, they said I could say this, we're 64 women who kind of give a shit.
Oh, wow.
Because we have never gotten to 100 members. So I hope it's okay that I said that. But we haven't gotten there, and we're working on it. We're trying to increase our membership. But like Airdrie, there are 100 women. There have to be 100 women that have $100. So you come to a meeting, you can come as a guest. You can come once. You cannot pay as a guest. But if you do come and you register, you pay $100. And if there's 100 of us, we together have $10,000 to give to a charity in Airdrie. And then we vote online. Members can vote. And we present the check at the next meeting, which is very exciting.
Now, I've actually had the privilege with the Field Turf Project of presenting.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yes.
And again, I had the same experience because I was at the 100 Men Who Give a Damn presenting for the Field Turf Project, which is, well, it's finished now, but it was my passion project and my reason for a long time to get up and get that done. And both times I was watching other people present going, I'm not sure I'm voting for myself here because there were such heartwarming stories. Yeah. I remember them both. It was the Sober Friends Society and it was Adopt a Grad.
Yes.
And we lost out both times to them and thank God we did because such great organizations. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about the people who come in front of your organization.
So, now, I am new to the sort of leadership team of this group, but you can nominate charities. And there was a bit of discussion when I first joined about having registered charities. And people feel different ways about that. And one thing we have learned is that just because something isn't a registered charity, it is those smaller niche groups that really can do kind of the biggest work. There's a children's book called The Three Questions, and it's based on a book by Leo Tolstoy. But the questions are: who is the most important one? When is the best time? And what is the right thing to do? And I think this completely applies to 100 women because the most important one is the person in front of you. Yeah. And for me, 100 Women is about putting new people in front of our members. So we want to make sure that we're not just reaching people that are in our immediate circles, but it's those nominations for the smaller niche groups that we may not know of that puts new people in front of us. So the most important person is the person in front of you. The best time to do something is right now, according to the story. And the right thing to do is to help the person in front of you. And I'm just like, that's our group. It's exactly what we're trying to do.
That's incredibly motivating. That's such a great thing to hear. Yeah. That's a great way to go into the rest of my day here. That's fantastic. So you meet 4 times a quarter and $10,000 to each charity if we get 100 women each time.
Yes, exactly. Sometimes it's $6,400, but
$6,400.
That's okay.
That still makes a huge difference.
Yes. We're still pleased with our group for that, for sure.
And one of the things we talked about off camera that I think is really interesting, if you attend one of these events, it's not just about the check, right? The check is great. One of the things that was really valuable for my organization was the networking and getting to know different business people in our city that could help your cause. Yep. So talk to me a little bit about the network.
So the networking is excellent. And I only got more of a taste of that being in the leadership. And so I can only talk of my last 2. But first of all, when you go to a meeting, you hear about all the resources in the city. So in our day-to-day, we probably run into people who are like, oh, I have an issue with this, or I need this. And now I know, oh, there's Meal on Wheels for that. Oh, there's the Sober Friends Society. Oh, you have a young person, Off the Grid Youth is doing great work in Airdrie. So you really become a bit of an expert in our community and what resources are there. And then the second thing is that for me personally, when someone presents afterwards, I go meet with them. I want to take photos. I want to meet them. I want to chat with them. So I've done that with Ursa Rehab here in Airdrie. And then I did that with Abe of Off the Grid Youth. And Abe's group is more like a niche, smaller group. I had not heard of them. I'm not involved with young people a lot anymore. And he's an example where our Venn diagram circles would not have overlapped, except for 100 women. And if you follow Off the Grid Youth on social, he's doing really great things. And actually, you don't see everything that he's doing on social because some of it is just sort of behind the scenes.
Yeah.
But it's sort of reaching those niche pockets of Airdrie that need support and just might not otherwise get it. So, yeah.
Well, and a lot of like when you look at some of the issues that people want to tackle, sometimes it could seem overwhelming and you don't know where to really start, right?
Yeah.
Like homelessness,
100%.
for example, or rehab or alcoholism or even trying to get a field built. They're all great causes, but sometimes they seem overwhelming. And what I love about this concept is it makes it so bite-sized and so easy for somebody to go, I have an organization that I believe in.
Yep.
I'm going to nominate them and they're going to win real money. We're going to grant them real cash at the end of this that for a small organization could be a lifeline.
For sure.
And
I know you mentioned too that the networking at the meetings, and that is the point that I wanted to make sure I said, is that with Off the Grid Youth, we were there, we helped out their organization. But afterwards, I contacted Off the Grid and sort of said, how else can we work together? Like, I have a platform. What are you guys doing? What's going on? And so it makes sort of other collaborations and partnerships. And that was really great. And that can happen with anyone in the group. Like a member might see something and go, you know what? I want to personally support that. So they'll contact them after.
Right. And Abe, if you're listening, we're probably going to be searching for you relatively quickly to come on the show. So just be warned that we're after you, my friend.
It's a great group. And his young people are doing great things. There's lots of different ages. It was probably one of the best afternoons when I went to Lift Fitness to see what they were about. And I was like, this is awesome. Yeah, very excellent.
So how much money has, and you may not know the answer, but how long has this been going on? Is this just an Airdrie thing, or is this part of a larger movement?
So there are chapters all across Canada.
Okay.
And it's Amy who started ours here in Airdrie, and she's over at Airdrie Eye Care Centre. And her mom had a chapter in Regina, and she went and she was like, this is great. We need to do this in Airdrie. So you'll find it in Calgary, in Vancouver, in Ontario, all over Canada. And we've been running, I don't know exactly, I think it's 10 or 12 years. So if you think $10,000 approximately, a quarter, $40,000 a year, it adds up to a lot of small groups that have been helped. And then we have the Airdrie Men and we have Airdrie Kids, the 100 Airdrie Kids. So it's really, good stuff.
And how interconnected are the groups? Do you coordinate? Do you work together?
We do, yes. So our meetings are kind of staggered. We sometimes do meetings with the men, which is a lot of fun. I try to support the kids. I couldn't come to their last one. The kids is a little different concept. The young people, our members present on behalf of a charity. It's really neat.
Okay.
But yeah, we definitely support each other. Like you'll see, I'll say 100 men's meetings coming up. We try to help each other out, and we kind of share door prizes. So the men don't know this yet, but I have a line on some Caterpillar swag.
Oh,
so
fantastic.
I want to make some door prize trades with the dudes.
Yeah. The other benefit to it is the door prizes. There's some real swag to be won.
It is.
Yeah.
And I need to say, this is a great opportunity for businesses. So you should offer to give a door prize, but you should also offer to present it, because we love to see like, hi, I own Gather and Graze and you can win this. People want to see the person behind the business. Right. So it's a great way to get your name out there. 100%. Yeah.
I just remember how inspired I left that. And the neat thing about it too is in that 100 people, the circle might not ever be the same in any other situation other than people caring.
Yes, it's true.
And going from there. And I saw people with different opinions. I saw people with different backgrounds all coming together going, hey, you know what? For this one thing, we agree that we're going to help. And we have agreed on the process. And that to me was really motivating too. It brought people together that wouldn't normally be together.
For sure. And different ages. So we have like from 20 somethings right up to there's a group of senior ladies that come, and it is their social event and we love to see them. And another thing too, as a member, so my son is just started working. He I can say he sells insurance. You know, he's like, I should go to 100 Men. I'm like, you should meet your community.
Right.
You may do business together.
Yeah.
So yeah, especially for the young people, I don't know if they're always like, if it sounds like a party to them, but I'm like, no, you should come. It's great to network, whatever age. Yep.
So the next meeting, I believe as we air, it's going to be this week. So we may not get this on air in time for that. But talk to me about that event and the location and what's going on.
Yes. So we are coming up on March 6th. But if you're hearing this podcast later, we're quite sure our spring meeting is June 3rd. So you can save the date for that.
Okay.
But March 6th, we are at Ursa Rehab because they were our recipient for our last session. And they have a very beautiful space for adults with developmental disabilities. But there is a woman there who put the space together, and it's stunning. It feels like a living room. It feels like a home. It's so nice. I was surprised that they would host us. I didn't realize what a beautiful space it was. And so it's such a great idea, really good partnership. And so they are going to host us, which we haven't done before. But we also go to different places in Airdrie. Yeah. So if you know, there's lots of places I hadn't been to the golf course, Apple Creek. I'm trying to think where else. Sometimes we're at Smitty's, quite a few different spots. So you get another feel for Airdrie businesses.
Another slice
in
of
the
city.
venue. Yep.
Okay. So and how many women do we have registered?
I think right now we have 67.
Okay.
So you can find the link in our Instagram and register if you would like, but you can also come as a guest if you want to just see what it's about. Yeah. So, yeah.
And check it out. And so
for sure.
Who can nominate? Is it somebody who's
so
actually
only
registered?
members? If you've registered and paid your Run 100 Big Ones, you can nominate. But we love to hear about who should maybe be nominated. Yeah. And that's where I talk about sort of the overlap. I didn't know Abe and Off the Grid. I didn't know Amber at Ursa. I didn't know about the gardening initiative in Airdrie. So just find a member or message me on Instagram. We're happy to nominate people. We just want to know who you are and what you're doing.
And there's no, like you said, registered, non-registered. What's the requirement? What does an organization have to meet?
You have to fill out the registration form and pay $100 to vote. But you can just RSVP and come as a guest. If you don't pay, you can't vote, but you can still attend and listen and hear about it. You can also choose to pay for the year. So you can e-transfer $400. So that's what I do. I just do it all at once and it's done for the year. And then I know I can attend and vote. If you've paid and you can't attend, you can vote remotely. We are always live feeding the presentations because we want people to be able to vote even if they're not in town. So,
well, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
What advice do you have for people who want to get involved? Like, I keep crossing paths with you because you keep finding ways to be involved in your community. So what advice do you have for somebody who's listening to this and potentially looking up to you?
I feel like in terms of 100 Women, my advice is to just make it like an appointment. As soon as I know those dates, I reserve it. It's a priority. I also think get some friends that you don't see often and you'll show up. But sort of globally in terms of like advice, I truly believe that the most important person is the one in front of you. So whoever you come across, you know, I try to treat them like you have my attention. You know, I want to hear what you're doing. Even we talked in the lobby a bit to Calix's parents, and those are connections that I think, not in a weird way, but they happen for a reason. So every time someone's in front of you, you have to see it, for me anyway, as what can I offer to them? I mean, it's reciprocate sometimes, but you know, where can the energy flow here for me? To make this connection mean something, I guess.
I'm a big energy guy too. I believe that things come back to you. It may not be transactional, if that makes sense.
Yes.
It may not be I did something for Shannon, so Shannon does something for me. But if you have a service mindset, people tend to give you a service mindset back. And
you get what you give when if you look for good things and you look for good opportunities. It sounds so woo woo,
right?
It's not the secret. I'm not the secret here, but I do think I believe like every kid that comes into my driveway, like anyone that comes through, I want them to feel like they're welcomed, like they were important, because you don't know. Patina was talking earlier about the ripple effect. You won't see it, and so Yeah.
Yeah, you don't always have sightline to the story and how it
Yes.
ends.
I can't believe I snorted on the podcast.
That's okay. That's okay. I've cried on the podcast.
Excellent.
I've been kicked on the podcast. An episode last week, there was a Muay Thai kickboxer, a champion named Damien
really?
Smith, who was trying to take my head off with a high kick. So yeah, there's been all sorts of things happen on the show, and I'm sure there's going to be more. So don't worry about that
I
at
feel
all.
like maybe it adds to my charm.
Absolutely. Shannon, this has been an absolutely fantastic conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you so much
Thank
for coming
you
on the
so
show.
much. Thank you.
And I can't wait to see you cross that 100 number
Yes.
and actually have 100 women who care, not a
64
two-digit
who
number.
kind of.
Right. And I wish you luck in March and June for a
Thank
great
you.
turnout.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Perfect. And thank you for attending another episode of Airdrie Inside. We'll be back at Glitch Gaming with another episode coming up shortly.